I've always wanted a certain level of financial success and a certain level of freedom that really only entrepreneurship can bring you. I think my first entrepreneurial venture was a vending business outside the Cincinnati Red Stadium. I did that when I was like 20 to 22.
One thing I wrote down here, Dan, and we talk about it so much, is like friction creates opportunity. Like those are the exact words I wrote down.
The friction, yeah, I love the friction because it kept out the competition. I think the more friction you have in business,
Two bidders, that's all.
I talked to some other people that tried to bid, but they didn't have enough money.
That's what always worried me going into that courthouse. My heart was beating. My watch told me I was at like 128 beats per minute, like I was in a sports game.
Yeah.
I heard it beating. Like when we were auctioning, I don't know why.
I started reaching out to our top clients. It was about letting everybody know we're up and running again and getting them back.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today we brought our other brother, Mike Apke, on the show. Mike was a part of our land investing community for multiple years, and he's really taken his business from a land perspective off the ground. And most recently, Mike helped acquire Droners.io with us when we went down to Raleigh and the Chapter 7 foreclosure business and had that whole experience. So we're going to talk about Mike's background here. We're going to talk about how he got to land. Previously, he had some businesses before land as well, and we're going to get into that and then talk about Droners. But welcome to the show, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
The first thing I want to talk about is your background. You know, a lot of people make excuses when it comes to business with they're too busy and all these other distractions going on. You have a family. You had a W-2 job until recently, and we're going to get into that later in the show. But talk about your background and just what really led you here.
I've had entrepreneurial aspirations for a long time, and a few years ago, you guys started land. You guys started probably a year ahead of me. I saw the success you all were having, and I watched that, and it made me interested in land.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I've always wanted a certain level of financial success and a certain level of freedom that really only entrepreneurship can bring you.
Yeah.
So that's always brought me in that direction. And even before that, Dan, you and I had some drop shipping business together.
Exactly.
We did that. I think my first entrepreneurial venture was a vending business outside the Cincinnati Red Stadium. I did that when I was maybe 20 to 22. Did that for 3 seasons where I went downtown, got a license, did vending downtown before Cincinnati Reds games. Sold water, Gatorade, peanuts. Ron worked for me a few times.
Double headers in the heat.
Yeah. And I actually made decent money, and it didn't make great money, obviously, but a few $100s a game. And it gave me a taste for it was just fun, building the business, trying to grow, putting together new offerings. It was just really fun and fulfilling. So that's really what was my first taste of entrepreneurship.
So you went from vending, and then you got into, how old were you when you were vending?
I think I started when I was 20, maybe.
And for those who don't know, Mike's the oldest brother. Someone asked this yesterday. Mike's the oldest brother, Ron's the middle, and I'm the youngest. So you went from
15 years ago.
15 years ago. So you went from vending, then you had drop shipping coming on here soon, and you had a W-2 during all this as well. And then after drop shipping, you went to land.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
And what you said the freedom that you got from vending, and you got a taste of that a little bit, and then you saw drop shipping and land. And what is that to you, the freedom?
A big part of it is deciding, working for a big company, you only have so much say in the direction of the business, if any at all. So it's really deciding the direction of the business.
Interesting.
And now that I no longer
have a fulfillment thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's growing, building a business and being the one, not necessarily doing it by yourself, but being the one that pushes the business forward and works on I really like being part of the strategic part of businesses.
Yeah. And what did you see with land specifically, because you went to drop shipping? Did you see any pros and cons of land versus drop shipping, or what made you make that transition?
I mean, the drop shipping businesses we made a little bit of money, but they ended up failing and we closed them down.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So from drop shipping to land, land was something I could easily do on the side. There was a lot of income potential, but I think being able made very good money with land, working 10 to 15 hours a week. There were periods when I was working more than that, when I was pushing 20 plus, working a lot of nights. But once I learned the systems and got good at land investing, I would say, I was working 10, 15 hours a week and making decent money. So it was something I could do reliably on the side.
Yeah. And when you started that first business with the vending, you didn't have a family. With dropshipping, you didn't have a family yet either? with drop
No,
shipping?
I had a wife, but I didn't have
you
kids
were married.
yet. Yeah.
And with land, when you started, did you have a family?
Yeah.
You had kids?
Yes. Because I started like shortly after Penelope was born.
Talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of our users, and you guys can talk a little bit, because Ron has a family obviously as well.
Yeah.
You guys can talk about, the finding time, because you had a W-2. Mike's an engineer, or as of recently, not an engineer anymore, but he's by trade was a developer, correct?
Yeah, software developer.
Software
engineer.
developer, yeah. So he had that going on with the family and then the land business as well. And a lot of people listening are in that same situation and have families and all that. So talk about that journey.
Number one, I would say if you're doing this with a family, get your wife on board. My wife Ariel being on board was huge because she would, carve out time for me on the weekends. Like I'd get the kids to bed and I'd have to go work. So I'd say get your wife on board. That's number one. And then just find the time. Don't make excuses. If you need to get up early, I would work a lot of nights. I have 2 kids now, but initially I had 1. We put my daughter down at 8:30, and I'd work from there till 11:30.
You've always been a night owl.
Yeah, I didn't get up early too
Just
much.
watches YouTube until 1 a.m. every night.
I usually
He was staying at my house one time.
How do you know that?
He was staying at my house one time in Florida, and I was in an apartment at the time. It was when I first moved down, and Mike and Ariel came before you had any kids.
Yeah.
And they came down, and I'm like trying to sleep, and I hear Jocko Willink, like just motivational speech or something, because the TV was against my wall. Yeah, it was like that TV was hung on the wall to my bedroom. So I like heard Jocko Willink coming through. And it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock, and that's how I got it. He's always educating yourself on different topics, I think. But
yeah. Before bed, I like comedy videos though. They put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, laugh a little bit and go to bed. But yeah. What were we
The
talking
original
about?
question was talking about family. You said get
Yeah.
your wife on board and then just find the time.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Don't make excuses. Find the time. If you need to wake up early, I did a lot more at night, but sometimes I'd wake up early too.
Yeah.
But you can always wake up. Land doesn't take that much. Initially, it takes more time, but
It's not that many man
you
hours.
can do like 2 hours, 3 hours a day if you can get that much.
That's a lot,
But,
yeah.
Yeah, that's probably even too much. And yeah, even 2 hours a day, and then find some time on the weekend. You could get 6 to 8 hours on the weekend.
And make good 6 figures.
Yeah.
Do you remember
Absolutely.
do you remember your goals when you first started land? Like as far as not financially, as far as how long, if you wanted to eventually quit your job from land or something like that. Do you remember when you first got in? Like what were you trying to get out of it? Because you had a secure, and up till Monday, last Friday, you had a very secure 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
So you're going into, you did the same thing with drop shipping as far as you probably had a goal when you're getting in there.
Yeah.
Do you remember that when you were getting into land? Because I think a lot of people can relate. We're 3 years in since you started land. You just quit your job. Some people, it's a longer journey. Some people, it's risk tolerance too. But talk about your goal if you can remember when you first got in.
Yeah, I don't fully remember. I think I wanted to quit my job within I think I did want to go full-time land at first, and maybe within 6 months to a year. But my goals kind of changed when I realized I could do the land. Because what was nice about doing land on the side was I was making money from land and not spending it. So I was just building up this capital, and now I'm in a position where I can fund my own deals because of that. So I just kind of had all this money building up on the side, and I didn't need to spend any of it. So that was nice, and that's why I stayed as long as I did. But initially I went all in on land. When I say 10, 15 hours a week, probably that first 6 months, I was working a lot.
Yep.
And that's when you're learning. I think that's when you need to put the most work in, because that's when you develop the skills.
Yeah.
And then once you have the skills, you can spend a lot less time on it because you're more efficient. But yeah, my goals changed. I never had a hard goal though. Initially it was really make extra money. Well, I wanted to make a lot more money. I saw how successful you guys were too, so I knew it worked.
Yeah.
I think I had that advantage. Some people might come in a little bit skeptical, but I saw the success you all were having.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I had big financial goals. The leaving was kind of change that.
The cool thing, Dan, is is everyone we've had in the podcast chair have been 6 months in, 7 months in. Michael's had ups and downs and ups and downs, and seeing that roller coaster, because it is a roller coaster. And again, it's dependent on your situation too. But it's not this isn't someone who's been in this for 6 months. It's been multiple years, Michael, in this. So I think kind of lessons and stuff like you can teach a lot of people as far as that and your situation. A lot of people come in with a kid, 2 kids. It's all possible. It's just another excuse thing sometimes people
It's
make.
a lot of external factors. People are looking for excuses and everything, and that's what Mike's done a really good job at. And I have this as a topic that we can kind of roll right into. This is distractions. And you've been one to when even I kind of push different things on you sometimes, like texting and cold calling and all this. You're like, I'm just going to stay focused on mail. It's working for me. It's made me good money. It's not a lot of man hours, and I know the systems really well. And also competition coming in where people are like, is it getting too competitive and all that? You don't really listen to the noise with all that. So I wanted to segue from Ron, what he mentioned about that too. When you first started also, and I was talking to Pete Reese about this, people were saying, is it too competitive? When we first started, people were like, is this space too competitive? Everyone's always going to say that. That's the number one external excuse. But I wanted to get your thoughts on, eliminating the distractions and just staying focused.
I think the biggest thing was, I saw what worked. The mailing worked. And while doing this with the 9 to 5, I did only have one of the reasons why I cut out so many distractions was because I had the 9 to 5. I think if I was doing land full time, I would have broadened it a lot more. But I knew mailing worked. I knew it was very, very efficient, and it's probably it's got to be one of the most time efficient ways to make money.
Yeah.
When you look at, you send out mail, you can send out 5,000 a month. I mean, sending out 5,000 a month, you can easily make 6 figures.
I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars an hour.
Yeah, and you're only maybe you get 30 calls back a mail or 30 calls back a mailer. So it's very time efficient. But the cutting out distractions, a big piece of that, I think, is just that I was so busy that I had no other choice. If I was going to make land work while having a family and doing a 9 to 5, like I had to be efficient, focused on one thing.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think for anyone starting out, like Mike said, you can pick up a lot of things that we've already talked about already. One, just putting a couple hours aside a day, no matter what, where you're going to find it. 2, getting your wife on board. I think that was a big one that I've never really heard you say or, people say, but having your wife behind you, whether they're helping you, kind of like Pete Reese yesterday. I was on Pete's podcast, and Pete's and his family, his daughter works for him. His wife works with him. They do whether it's in your business or just supporting your business. So going from there, like we said, there's so many external factors and distractions. Mike said, kind of just stay focused, keep your head down, keep your mind on the goal, and find ways to execute on that. Mike recently was able to quit his 9 to 5 job, and that was a goal of his to do. He kept his job for a decent amount, multiple years while land investing, and then found the right time and saved up, I think you said over a year of income and, plenty other capital. That's worst case scenario type stuff. And you have deals in the pipeline and things like that as well. But his journey of quitting took multiple years, and he waited for the beautiful thing about it was that Mike, like he said, was able to save up money because he wasn't spending any of it. So instead of living off your land income, you're saving it up, and now you're kind of putting that as a safety barrier or buy your own deals and all of that stuff. Let's talk about that journey, because that was a mental journey for you. The day before you quit, you told me you were quitting. And I was like, oh, you usually tell me like 6 months in advance, like, oh, I want to quit by December, Yeah. And I hadn't heard it yet. And then I told Ron, I was like, yeah, Mike said he's quitting tomorrow. There maybe it was 1 or 2 days before. But let's talk about that mental journey, because that's a big obstacle to over. That's scary.
Yeah. Well, I was going to wait to tell. I was going to call you right after I quit to tell you.
Then I came to
But
dinner.
then I started getting cold feet. So I was like, I better tell Dan, so I'm held accountable. So he'll put, because I knew if I told you I was going to do it, you'd start pushing me, and you sent me like a few texts the next day. Have you quit yet?
Yeah.
But it's
hard time with that.
No, it's hard. Yeah, because I'm pretty risk adverse. I always have a lot of backup plans. So this is like, I still have backup plans, but this is a pretty hard jump where to like go back it'd be hard. It'd be challenging. So it's exciting and scary. I think playing out the worst case scenario really helps.
Especially when it's not that bad.
Yeah.
When the worst case scenario is not bad.
Yeah. I'd have to get another job if everything.
But you are an
everything
engineer
failed.
by trade. So.
Yeah. So I'd be okay. And
you left your
Dad
company
said
on
I
a
could
good note.
come live with him.
Yeah.
He's like,
worst case scenario you got to think of worst case scenarios, and you got family to back you if you actually absolutely
If
need
I
it.
needed it,
If it got bad, the worst, and when the worst case scenario in your situation, which I want you to talk about, what is your worst case scenario, and it's not that bad, so we can have the audience here.
I make no money for a year and a half, and I have to start looking for a job. I have about 2 years of income saved up, so it's not that bad.
That's not bad.
But
some
then I
people are like, I got 1 month to make this work.
Yeah.
And they're already living in their parents' basement.
Yeah.
So your worst case isn't that bad. And that's what, like Ron, when he started, you were a basketball coach, not making much money at the time. You had money saved. What was your worst case?
I mean, worst case is going to look for a job. Like I literally made $0 in the previous 12 months from anything. I was working for free as a volunteer, essentially. The thing about the thing about this is it's always like, what's your monthly expenses? Like, how easy is it to recoup your monthly expenses doing something? And like, I was living in very, very rural South Carolina. My mortgage was $700, legitimately $700. Our expenses were under $1,000. So like, worst case scenario is going to find a job to like make $1,200 and like
that was before COVID and the
in a really rough, not a rough area, just a very, very rural area that not many people would know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's all balance. I think Michael's got rice and beans saved up for a couple of years,
he's
right?
got his pantry stack.
Yeah, when you look at like worst case scenario stuff like this, like it's not that bad at the end of the day. And like, what's the best case scenario? Yeah. Best case scenario is you do whatever the hell you want, as far as like traveling, running a business, hiring people with a business, and like you can grow a meaningful businesses, and like the upside is so much better that like the downside's not that bad.
Yeah. Downside's not bad at all. And like when I quit, you asked me about when I quit too, that I had money saved up. But like we just believed so much in land at the time. I didn't sell my business yet when I quit my job. I didn't even have a family. But my expenses were decent because I was spending too much money or more money than I probably should have at the time. But I think in general, always look at your worst case scenario and then look at the upside and kind of weigh them against. And once you feel good about your income you're making from land, for anyone listening, versus the risk of quitting your 9 to 5, then I think that's when it's time to jump. And everyone has a different risk profile, so that's something to mention. But obviously, you acquired Droners.io with us. Mm-hmm. We went to Raleigh, did that. We're going to talk about that here soon. But before we get into that, what's your plan for the next 12 months in terms of land?
I'm probably land's going to be pretty moderate right now. Maybe 3,000 to 4,000 mailers a month, maybe get up to 5,000. And what we talked about, Dan, which I'm going to explore as well, is targeting large properties with a lot of road frontage. 1,500, 2,000 feet of road frontage, offering maybe 70, 75%, and just trying to get some big subdivide deals that can have a potential for huge payoffs.
Everyone always asks me the secret, and like what you said, and I try to tell our community the same things that I tell everyone and be as transparent as possible. Like, this is my brother. I'm telling him. He asked me, or I told him, I said, explore the idea of not doing $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. Don't even send mail to them. Just explore that and stay hyper-focused on the big deals with the road frontage. So in the land portal, if you guys are new or listening, there's a road frontage minimum and maximum, so you can target 3,000 to 6,000 feet of road frontage between 50 to 100 acres, and you'll get these properties back that have 3-sided road frontage, and you can just split it up and subdivide, and you can buy them at 75, 80, 130% and still make 300%. It's actually insane the amount of money you can make. And like, I just want to this is something that that we recommended for Mike to do. That's how heavily we believe in it. Mm-hmm. What's your plan with that road frontage exactly?
I'm going to do it. I'm not going to stay hyper focused on it. Actually, I'm going to keep sending normal mail because that works. Mm-hmm. I mean, until that stops working, which I don't think is anytime soon. I don't think it's too competitive.
Right.
I think if you know what you're doing, if you're efficient, you know what you're doing, you know how to talk to people on the phone, you can still make a ton of money.
Yeah.
You can still make a ton of money on this. I mean, the biggest thing on the phone, I think, is building trust, building trust with the sellers. And if you can do that well, you're sending out enough mail, you'll make money in this business. And then the bigger big subdivides, that's kind of, I'll do that on top of it. Mm-hmm. Because that's not going to take up, I mean, you price those, you send them out, you're not going to get nearly as many calls from them. But still shoot for them.
It's negotiation though with them, because you can go up.
Yeah.
Like you just want to get them on the phones essentially, and you might work them for 2 months, and get it put earnest down to keep it, because it's $240,000, and you're splitting it up into 12 different lots, and you're going to sell them for $840.
Yeah.
Like, these deals are insane.
It's so easy.
It's so easy. I am making modules on it, but there's 3 things you want to ask during this, and I told you those 3 questions. I don't know if I'm going to be able to remember them now, but one was like, how small can you subdivide the lots into? Number 2 was, how many lots can I subdivide one parcel into? Because sometimes they'll say you can only subdivide one parcel into 5 lots. And then third was, does that create any restrictions when doing so? I think those were the 3. But if you guys aren't doing that, use the land portal and get that road frontage going, because there's a ton of opportunities there. You touched on being aggressive on the phone slightly. And that's something in our program we were really working on for a long time. I'm talking like a year or two ago, when you hired a salesperson, you tried different sales techniques. This is actually a good topic to go into for everyone. So Mike, let's just call you a C salesperson before. Is that fair?
That's
Lower,
fair.
higher? He's going to get cocky and say B.
A willing C, I think.
I don't think I'm bad. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
But I do it because it's necessary.
But before you got the reps and stuff,
Yeah.
you weren't you're much more, you're confident on the phone. People hear the confidence.
C's fair.
C was fair before, let's say.
C looking to improve, yeah.
C looking to improve. So let's call him a C minus salesperson. I'm just kidding. We gotta call him a C for this. Mike came and he was looking for ways to outsource and try it. And we kind of had that discussion. We said you can outsource and scale that way. And that's the route he went. Or you can develop the skills you want. Outsourcing salespeople is, by Dan Martell's standard and a lot of other people, one of the hardest positions to outsource outside of management, just because you're looking, it's just difficult to get the people, the level quality people that you're looking for, and they're highly compensated as well, good salespeople. And it's just a hard position to, they're alpha type personalities a lot. It's a hard position to outsource when you're talking about an organization, rather than a transaction coordinator or all the other roles in the organization, or virtual assistants, things like that. So you ended up outsourcing. At first, and then he came back from that, got rid of that, and you said, I'm just going to go from a C to a B plus or whatever it is. Talk about that and how you refined your skills with that and confidence.
I think outsourcing it really helped, because then I was training somebody basically, or I was training somebody, and I was listening to their calls. So going from just being kind of isolated salesperson to seeing it from a higher perspective, I think that really helped me.
Yeah.
Because then I could see it, the salesperson I hired, and it didn't work out, but a lot of it was my compensation model. I don't think I did it quite right. But listening to his calls, watching what he did, and then saying, okay, I do that, I don't like that, and kind of building my own skills from that.
Teaching is one of the best ways to learn, for sure. That's how we learn a lot. And that's like Anthony, and I can't remember who said that the other day, but one of the things we do with virtual assistants sometimes or whatever, you tell them to teach you in a Loom video how to do it and make the SOPs. That's like one of the steps, make the guidelines. Yeah. And then once they can do it and they can teach someone, that just refines deeper.
Teaching's amazing. Like, that's what I've done for the last 10 years, teach. And like, teaching helps so much with all this stuff. If it's teaching my son how to play chess, like, it helps me, or just teaching him, we kind of learn side by side. It's whatever it is, teaching is the best way to refine your skills. He does whoop me. He whoops Michael too.
Yeah, he's good.
Not anymore.
No, that's his confidence. He gets whooped. But anything else on that topic, Ron?
No, I think that's good.
All right. Well, now we're going to get into, I think this is a good segue for Droners.io. Mike is the tech CEO of Droners.io. He likes that title. He requested me to use it before. No, I'm just kidding. But that Droners.io you were using before you acquired it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we were all using it for drone photography for our land. Not just photography, but for due diligence.
And you liked it?
Loved it.
Is that why you wanted to buy it?
Yeah.
Talk about that whole process of identifying and executing that plan.
Of acquiring
Just
it?
acquire the whole process, yeah.
Okay. It started on a call with you, Dan, where we started talking about acquisition entrepreneurship. And then after that call, I read a book called Buy Then Build. And within a few days, I decided I was going to buy a business. I didn't know what. And then I had a call with Ron the next week, and he brought up, he's like, do you want to buy Droners.io? He's like, I wonder if they're selling Droners.io. I'd be interested in buying that. And I don't even think I said anything. But right after that call, I started looking, and I went on to, I tried calling the parent company, Droners.io.
Precision
numbers
Hawk, yeah.
down, should we say, yeah, Precision Hawk. Tried emailing. I went on LinkedIn. I bought a premium membership. I messaged their old CEO. He told me he couldn't help me. Messaged a bunch of people. And eventually I found this guy. There was a company that merged with Precision Hawk a few years ago, and I found the CEO of that company, and I messaged him.
Where were they?
I think Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're overseas somewhere.
I think, yeah, overseas. And he seemed to like me. He's like, let me see if I can help you out. And I talked to his attorney, and his attorney said, there's a trustee in charge of liquidating the Precision Hawk estate. And he gave me his email. I emailed this trustee, and then from there we had to. He basically said we have to bid on it. He said there's one other bid, or I don't know if he told me how many bidders, but he sent me some financials back, and he said if you're interested in this, you have to bid on it, and if you have to bid 5,000 higher or 10,000 higher than the previous bid, and from there it'll trigger an auction. in Raleigh, North
In
Carolina.
person, yeah.
In-person
auction. So while that's going on, I'd like sent Ron a text. I was like, "Are you actually interested in buying droners.io?" And you said yes. It's like, okay, I'm talking to some people now. And then Dan, you were also interested. So we got together. We hired an attorney, and we ended up put in a qualified bid the last possible day you could.
It was Friday.
It was a Monday morning. Was it Friday? No.
Well, I thought Friday and we had to go Monday.
No, I thought we put the bid in Monday and we had to go Tuesday.
Oh, we tried to put it in Friday, but the attorney was out of the office. Right?
Yeah, something went on. We didn't mean to hold it all the way to the end. I mean, we kind of did, but we didn't mean to go that far.
It was one of our strategies we talked about, but
I didn't mean to go that far, but it ended up we were looking over some numbers and stuff too, but anyway, so we put in a qualified bid Monday morning. We made sure it's like, okay, the auction's on now on Tuesday morning. So we bought plane tickets for that evening. We all flew out. Dan got us a janky hotel with construction going on.
How did we come up with that? This thing, oh God, the construction. We'll get into all of that. But before you keep going real quick, that hotel. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I remember Ron walking through those sliding doors when you first came in. But I want to talk about the time frame because this happened quick. You didn't touch on the time frame. From those emails and figuring this out, how long was this process?
Couple weeks.
It was literally like 2 weeks.
I decided I was going to buy a business, and within 3 weeks we had a business.
Yeah, and by the time we got
that was all of it.
When you got a hold of the suite until we even knew the qualified bidder was like a weekend ahead, right?
Yeah, we didn't have much time.
We didn't have time, yeah, and then
which is good because we surprised them.
We knew the auction had to be live or in person like a week or so in advance. So we're like in the back of our heads, we're like we're gonna have to go to Raleigh. So Tuesday. I remember waking up Tuesday morning. So Monday we put in the bid. Tuesday and we contacted the attorney and we're like, hey, like we just want to confirm we have to come tomorrow, right? Or is that Monday?
No, that was Monday.
And we had to show up
put in
Tuesday.
the bid Monday morning. Then we got a confirmation that the auction was on.
Yes, and then we're like, okay.
And then we booked tickets. Like it was like Monday late morning. We booked flights for Monday evening. We flew to Raleigh that night.
Yeah.
Monday night we flew to Raleigh, stayed in that hotel, and then we had an auction in the morning.
Yeah. That's when I introduced Mike to white noise because there's a jackhammer going on outside.
I wanted the Airbnb the whole time. Like I was telling you, I
said Airbnb doesn't work for one night. Let's stay in the city
works
at a
fine.
hotel.
We would have had a nice Airbnb.
No, we could have just got a nicer hotel.
Good sleep. But one thing I wrote down here, Dan, and we talk about it so much, is like friction creates opportunity. Like those are the exact words I wrote down. And this was not like what I was thinking when Mike was telling this story. It's like how many people would have bid on this if it was like posted on Instagram, like show up to Raleigh courthouse, bid on
Might as well call it off market.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But like how much friction Michael had to just get to that lobby in that foreclosure courthouse or whatever you want to call it. Like there was a ton of friction reaching out to people telling him to F off because their business went bankrupt essentially. Like there's a lot of friction to get there. We've talked to other people who have said they were interested in it and curious to see what was going on, but the work that was put in previously to actually get there was huge.
It was basically, like you said, an off-market deal. And the friction... Yeah, I love the friction because it kept out the competition. I think the more friction you have in business...
Two bidders, that's all.
I talked to some other people that tried to bid, but they didn't have enough money. There were some... that actually went to the auction. There were two of us. There were a few people that put in like lower bids from what... But yeah, basically, that's me.
Yeah, Pete said he inquired about this yesterday on his podcast, and it's going on his, so you guys will hear it on there too if you guys listen. But he said that...
Good customer of droners.io.
Yeah, he's a great customer. He said he said he's one of the top. I didn't confirm that with Mike, but we don't need to go into numbers. But he said how he was looking to do it, and there was friction, and he never heard back. Yeah. And that was part of the friction that kept Pete out. And I told Pete, I said, you probably had a lot more money than the other droner guys we were bidding against. I said we would have merged or something because we don't want to create a bid war.
Land people would have been all over it. Like there's multiple. There have been 5-6 land investors, educators that would have been all over it.
Would not have been hard to do. And so we talked about the acquisition process. I think they got a good understanding of that from what we've talked about. Yeah. I want to get into post-acquisition, going into just actually taking it over, because that's when the real work started. Getting there, and it was fun. I guess we didn't talk about the courtroom and all that. Let's talk about the actual bidding process a little bit more, because we woke up, we still didn't know what number we were going with. or our max number. We all thought we had kind of max numbers, but it's like if it got there, I was going to go higher, 100%.
I was scared of our max number that we said though. Like we got it for 60% of what our max number was, but we had no clue. Like because the numbers are the numbers, and we knew the potential. And I think we kind of what I was saying to Daniel. I don't know when it was. Maybe it was you. I don't know. But we kind of put the business on a pedestal because how much we used it.
Yeah.
And like we used it a ton.
And it was good technology too.
100%.
But we were sitting at First Watch in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I remember being like, okay, so what's our max? And we never came to a conclusion. And that's what always worried me going into that courthouse is because we did not have a defined end number. Yeah. And I think it just shows how bad we really wanted it because we used it and we believed in the software and the future of it so much. But I just remember not having a clear number what we were going to.
So the day of... we talked about what our top number was. And again, we didn't know. And I, in the back of we wanted to win this. Like it felt like a fight we were going into almost. And we were talking like the adrenaline that I remember you talking about the adrenaline you had.
My heart was beating. My watch told me I was at like 128 beats per minute. Like I was in a sports game.
Yep.
I heard it beating. Like when we were auctioning, I don't know why. I was like looking around. I was like, it's calm in here. I don't know why it's beating. Did you guys feel that too, or was it just me?
Yeah, no, there's a lot going on and we were excited.
You both. Ron was super nervous. I was kind of chilling. I was excited though.
It wasn't your money.
Well, it wasn't your damn money. Yeah. So the deal we worked out, Ron and I paid 100% of the money for Mike to run it because Mike was looking to acquire a business.
Yeah.
So we're like, Mike's the operator and he's going to run the
background.
business. And he's got the tech background and I shouldn't say tech, the data engineering background. So he could take it over and do all the work and all that with it.
Yeah. No, it's a great deal too. Basically, I do the work. I get 33% of the business without
no
putting
capital.
money. So it's, I mean, I think it's a win-win.
Yeah.
You guys don't have the time to work.
It's definitely
on
a win-win. And it's hard to find a qualified, trusted operator from our perspective too.
Yeah. And going to that courthouse. So Mike was late to get to the lobby, coming down to the lobby from we were waiting.
I'm like combing my hair in the mirror, I remember, and you're like pacing back and forth.
But we were waiting to go to the courthouse, and we got to the courthouse, like, holy crap, like this is a federal courthouse. This wasn't like a...
Chapter 7 in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah, this was a federal, like there's not that many of them. So like we got in there and like... metal detector, turn in your phone, do this, all these different things that we had to do. And that's when like I think some more nerves hit me, like security all over the place, which is not like it's security for us. It's just making sure everything checks. But Mike, you want to talk about when we kind of got up there too? We weren't bidding in a big courtroom. We're bidding in a hallway.
Yeah, there was something going on in the courtroom. So there was a judge that oversaw this, but we were just in a hallway.
Because he wanted to keep it more relaxed. He's like, I don't like courtrooms personally. He's like, I've been an attorney a long time. Let's just keep it casual.
This is the trustee. His job is to get as much money for
he gets commission from it
for the bankruptcy as possible.
Yeah, he's getting paid to do that. The more money that he liquidates, the more he gets paid. So we're in this hall, and yes, I was a couple minutes late, but the attorney for the other bidder was also like 15 minutes later than us. But we were also it was an interesting experience because none of us were expecting it was a lot more official than we thought. Because all of a sudden we're in this federal bankruptcy building. Like Ron said, we're coming in, we're putting our stuff in metal detectors. You guys are going up first. They're holding me back, and then I get up. Honestly, I was there kind of as an observer because you guys were in it, and I was giving advice. But Ron, you two were kind of like, okay, we're gonna bid this much, we're gonna bid this much, and I said a little bit, but not a whole lot because it was your money.
Yeah.
So it was kind of gave my opinion, but it was up to you guys. But then the bids started at, what did they start at, 75?
Yeah, it started at like 75.
So we're just standing in a hallway. It's the three of us, an attorney and the trustee, and then an attorney for this other company bidding on it. So we started at, I think it started low, maybe 65,000, 75,000. We went up in small increments, and then Ron did a big jump on the bid. And the attorney said, okay, I have to call my client. He walks out. And we're expecting him to be back in 3 minutes. He was gone for 15, 20 minutes.
It was easy.
Yeah, so we're talking this whole time. It's like, he's been gone forever. Let's do one more jump.
This waiting time sucked, too, because it's like so much anticipation coming. It's like, what are they going to come back at?
But it was also meant they were like on the fence.
They were calling their wives. For them to be gone 15 minutes, I told them, you guys too.
Yeah.
When we were sitting there, I was like, these guys are calling their wives, their family, collecting money, trying to get investors.
Because we were over the number that they initially
They had a threshold, and they hit a threshold, and then their attorney needed to go get permission to go up and see what they wanted to do, essentially.
Yeah. And so we did that, and he comes back just 5,000 higher, minimum higher than what we did. And it was like after 20 minutes. And we already made a plan. And then Ron did another jump, big jump. And he walks out again. And he comes back and says, congratulations, business is yours.
And there's case studies on that auctioneers want you to get in the smallest increments, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Then you work your way up hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And then, or you can just jump them off the bat and try to scare people.
Yeah.
And there's some case studies on that. Going back, do you like the strategy we used?
I think you could have paid less, but I think it won.
It did. It won at a price 60% lower than what we thought.
Yeah.
What we would go up to.
What our maximum was.
You would have gone up you would have doubled that, probably.
I would have not wanted to be there for that.
No, it was good. It worked. I mean, yeah, we would put them on the fence. And then the good thing about the initial first jump too is we knew it's like, okay, they're like on the edge right now. We can just one more bid and we'll knock them out.
Yeah.
Have you thought about it? I've thought about that process quite a bit in the last few months. When was it, Mike? Was it March?
No, it was April. Because we officially owned it April 26th. And I think that was maybe a week. It was a week before or so.
Yeah, I've thought about it a lot, like the process, like if we did the wrong thing, jumping up at like,
it's not that much money.
We own the asset, like the asset we own now, and like what it can be is like what I always kind of.
And it's not like that. The percent we paid over what we could have got it for, I think was small.
Yeah, and the asset's worth way, way more than that.
Absolutely.
Like the asset as a whole, just where it is right now. But I think you wanted to get into future things.
Yeah, I want to get into. I wanted to go into taking it over in the logistics, but I don't know if we need to get into that more so than let's hear how it's doing now first, and then we're going to get into future plans.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the logistics. I'll say real short. It was tough because we were taking a company over that was bankrupt for 6 months. So it was run by a bankrupt company. The payment processor has thousands of accounts, pilot accounts on it. Just getting access to that took 3 weeks.
Wow.
And there's probably 50 accounts I needed access to.
Yeah.
Like it's not like acquiring an asset where you're working with the old owner. It's acquiring a bankrupt asset. I'm finding old employees on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I was finding old employees on LinkedIn and asking them to help me with
That's
stuff.
the risk also that when you're buying a bankrupt company, why you get it for pennies on a dollar of what it's worth is because of the risk associated with what you're getting, how this has been bankrupt a while now. It's like, who are you working with? How's this transition? What are the numbers? They think the numbers are here. So that was part of the risk too.
Yeah. We knew their numbers, and we also made sure we weren't taking on any of their liabilities. That's what I was very like. Yes. And guys, like they weren't transferring over a Wix site or a Shopify site. They were transferring over lines of code. And like, it wasn't like some clean website transfer. Like this is a completely
custom built
website that was being transferred over. And that was the part that made me nervous as well.
Yeah. Getting that.
Yeah. It's a tech business, and it was all software.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the getting it up, the first month results. You don't need to go into specific numbers or anything like that, but just talk about, getting it up and running. Have you retained a lot of the customers who got off the platform? And since then, improvements and things to today's results.
Initially, it was about the software migration. That took about 3 weeks. But once we're up and running, I started reaching out to our top clients, or the previous top clients, trying to get everybody back. It was about letting everybody know. The main thing was initially it wasn't new clients. It was letting everybody know, because the site was working while Precision Hawk was bankrupt, but it wasn't very good. There were problems. So letting everybody know we're back up and running. We have a full customer support staff. We have a full technical staff. We're putting these improvements in. So it's really just letting all of our current clients know that we're up and running again and getting them back. And that happened quickly. I mean, we grew. Our revenue has been going up steadily every month since then.
Yeah. And a lot of that was just, being trusted again. There's some other competitors coming in the space trying to take it. They weren't good. And we found out quick competition was weak.
Yes. And they're expensive.
And they were expensive, but I think that's less of the problem than actually being weak.
Yeah. I mean, we have the best we have better software than all our competition, or the best software. And we have the brand recognition.
Yep.
So getting people back. But I mean, I think with a tech business, it's all about the product. Right, there's a lot of you can do ads, but having the best product is crucial, and and you'll get a lot more word of mouth. If you have software business that's not good, it's not going to work.
So percentage wise, like where that first month versus where you're at today, what's revenue look like?
Well, we made some changes. It's about doubled.
It's about over doubled. 3 months, 4 months.
Yes, but profit has more than tripled.
Profits tripled, and let's get into that because we're all about transparency here in our businesses. It's actually one of our Ron and I's core values at Land Investing Online and our other companies. But this business was trying to operate off 15%, 10% margins.
Not including fees.
Not including Stripe fees, everything. So really 7. So 10% they were taking from the client side.
Pilot.
from the pilot side.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone in business with a business mind knows you're not going to live off 10%. I still think we need to find ways to increase that. But you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you cannot operate off 7%.
Yeah.
Period. So let's talk about what we did.
Yeah, I mean, that's 7% gross margins without operating expenses.
Exactly.
So
you're looking at 2% net.
You're making nothing. It was a charity.
You can't scale. You can't hire. You can't add. You can't do anything with that. It's charity. That was a charity site.
Yeah. So we knew right away that wouldn't work. We didn't make the change right away because we were bringing in a few $1,000s a month, for a little more than that. But so what we decided to do was add a 10% fee on the client side as well.
So that was first was the droner. To clarify, guys, first the 10% we had was charging to the drone pilots.
Yes. Yeah, it was taken out of the drone pilots. That's how it's been since 2015. So we made a 10% fee on the client side. A big part of it. So now we have money for development. We have money for ads. We're spending thousands a month on paid ads. We're spending thousands a month on development. Because I'm very focused on improving the product, and now we have the money to do that.
It gives us it's capitalism. I mean, now we have money to put into ads to get more clients, to make the drones happier. The droners are more happy. The clients are happy because they have a better product. Everyone's making more money because of that. So it's helping them help themselves, essentially.
Yeah. Every single site that brokers work charges both sides. Every single one. Upwork, Fiverr, DoorDash, all these sites, like, they're making money on both sides. It's just no one else isn't.
Yeah, and I'm not for just raising your commissions when it's unjustified, but it was justified there. And the more value you put in, you can come up with other ways to create, the better product you have and better exclusive things that come up on you can always put different things in to monetize to help them help themselves, essentially. So it's a win-win. And that's why you can't just add fees on things when it's not a win-win. It always has to be a win-win. For the drone photographers, it's a win-win now because we can advertise and get more clients than ever are coming to droners.io. So that's number one. Number two, the clients, we're putting all that money, that revenue that we're getting now and that profit into the site, and we're blasting the site. We're getting that scaled up. We're getting that really nice. And then their experience is better as well. They're getting people hired. Good. Everything's good.
Yeah. So the client side feed, I mean, most people understood. A few people complained. And when I explained it, the why, like, everybody's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because it doesn't
we
make
wouldn't
sense
be here off 7%.
Yeah, or we wouldn't have a business. So if you want this business to be around, we would die without it.
Yeah. I think that's pretty understandable.
Yeah.
What about future plans for the site? Any major changes, not from a financial profit thing, just from our number one goal, same as with the land portal. So we own the land portal as well, which is a software site for those who don't know. So it's a tech company. And I understand what Mike's saying. Like, when the product improves, that's how the business grows. It's like marketing works with the product and exponentially grows, and word of mouth and all of that. So do you have any things coming up that anyone needs to know about?
I mean, right now we're adding some new features. Like, when you post a job, you can now, by the time this comes out, you'll be able to add 8 attachments. I'm trying to think of we have a few different features coming in. We're doing some behind the scenes stuff as well. Adding something called auto scaling on AWS, or just some server side stuff so the performance is better. And I want to do a mobile app as well. So that should be probably next year. We haven't started on that yet, but next year we want to add a mobile app. That's a request we've been getting. But just continue to like, I sent out a feedback survey the other day, and just continue to take feedback. The biggest thing is taking feedback from the clients, seeing what they want, and then implementing that. Because I think initially we were looking at things, putting in improvements, but it's like, what do the clients actually want?
Exactly.
So it's asking clients as much as we can, seeing what they want, and putting those improvements in as fast as possible.
Yeah. So if you guys are on YouTube or Spotify and can comment, and you guys have used this software, let us know what you guys want. Like, the same thing with the land portal. Like, I don't create the direction of the land portal. I listen and have such a tight grip on it that I know what people want, and you're doing the same exact thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So taking that feedback.
I don't have anything else, I don't think, Mike. I think Daniel and I talked about it, like, it was probably, I don't know, maybe a month after or something. Like you've taken this head on, and like you've moved fast with it. And that's when I think like the speed you've taken over this and like grown it, and the different things you're learning about email marketing, you're learning about Google ads, Facebook ads, all these different things. Like, it's I'm really excited to see the future of it.
Yeah. And the people have a misconception on drones, what they're used for in the land space. People think they're used for land. I don't even vision droners.io as necessarily a land photographer business. I think that's thinking micro. This, like, the people that are using the droners and where it's really starting to scale is, like, if you guys have wedding events, roofers, inspection companies. Talk about some of the big clients the really big clients that are putting jobs up that aren't land associated.
Yeah, we for sure have our land investors. I mean, a lot of commercial real estate. So commercial real estate's really big
because you can't just get up on the roof and start walking. It's just they're big
for photos too. We have some big roof inspecting companies that use us. Survey and mapping. That's a big one. Those are probably the main ones. The real estate, not just land though. It's much more than just land. Construction, real estate, like big construction sites. Yeah, you're hiring people for big construction. Yeah, and we have.
So that's more. Yeah, that's real estate, but it's building. Yeah,
it's like different. It's different than land though. For sure. Yeah, and then surveys and mapping. So people hire, like survey companies will hire droners to help them with to do their surveys and do their mappings.
Interesting.
And then events as well.
For the Ben's in here, our videographer, we're looking to do a pond on our Kentucky property.
Okay.
So we might need a little survey and outline it and all that stuff from the droners.io. But yeah, if you guys are buying assets or evaluating things outside of land as well, that it's a huge segment and it's very, very scalable as well. Like you said, land's definitely would you say it's the number one thing for land?
No.
What's number one?
Commercial real estate.
That's wild. I didn't even know that. Did
you know like buildings and stuff?
Yeah, we have one 6-figure client that's, commercial real estate.
I see stuff like, some of the stuff I see is like going through warehouse. Like you can do, these pilots are so damn good. Like they can go through warehouses. I saw one that was making like a commercial, like flying through a warehouse, like through all the shelving and stuff. Like it's sick what you can do with these things.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense with commercial real estate. That's interesting. I learned something new here. But any last comments? So like just to summarize everything we talked about, with Mike here, he started in just a vending company, built to drop shipping, transitioned to land investing, and now owns a tech company with us. And just evaluating and seeing opportunities and running full force with them, I think is what you can learn. And you can do this when you're busy and have a family and have a W-2 job. So there are no real excuses in this business. It's just about taking action. But Mike, do you have anything else to add before we close this out?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have entrepreneurial aspirations, take a shot at it because you'll regret it if you don't. That was the biggest thing because I had a great job, didn't hate it, or like a lot of entrepreneurs didn't hate it, but I felt like I was settling and I needed to give this a shot. So if you have those goals, I mean, land's a great way. There's many different ways. Land's a great way, but if you have those entrepreneurial goals, take a shot because the worst case scenario is not that bad usually.
Absolutely.
I don't have anything to add. I appreciate it, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe below. Leave us a message in the comments if you have any questions about droners.io, if you have any topics for future podcast episodes. If you're watching on Spotify or Apple, share this with a friend. Put it in our Instagram story. We appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining, guys. As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.